Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. How are
What
you
is
all?
what are you doing?
I said, welcome to Bonehead Weekly.
No, you said welcome
Welcome
to
to Bonehead
Bonehead
Weekly. I just
Weekly.
like the way it sounded.
This
That's that was a
60
choice. That
It
was
was
a
a
choice.
choice, and life is about choices, and my life, gentlemen, is about poor choices. Fuck you.
Huh.
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 That's
That's all you got? Huh?
great. That's a great way to
And as you
welcome
can see,
folks to our show with your attitude
yeah,
there.
and with
Oh,
our
my
with our
attitude's only pissy towards, I like the audience.
and
All three
with
of them.
our
If only
with
they returned that feeling. Boom.
ooh, he's saying you suck and nobody likes you.
I think that's untrue.
And he also
I
said you had a
think there's
shitty
several
beard.
of us on here that no one likes.
James, say that thing you said about his beard again.
Did I say something about his beard?
Yeah, you just did.
I don't
Shh.
often think about it. I mean,
That's just, well, you don't until the bristles are underneath your chin.
he's got all that protein strands hanging off of his face, complex as they are, DNA and all.
And our chemistry, as for our audience listeners, is a perfect example of what our topic is today.
R2, little D2.
What?
You say chemistry.
Chemistry. He's
That's a
he
bad
did-
joke. It's a
It's-
bad, shitty joke.
What does
What are you talking
R2D2
about
have to do with
chemistry?
chemistry?
because it's the only way he passed chemistry. Do you not know this story? He's
Oh,
told
he
it
never
more
pays any
times.
attention to me. He
Oh,
remembers
only thing
other
he-
things.
The only thing he's brought up more than that story is how much he loves Children of Men.
Oh, I'm glad you got there.
No,
Now, once you're done talking about Children of Men, will you do me a favor and tell me a story about that one guy that wrote that short story that one time?
It's no longer Children of Men. It's Call Me by Your Name or whatever the hell that Timothy
Oliphant.
Oh, I do like Timothy.
Olympics.
But no, Timothy Chalamet. That is a good movie. Call Me by Your Name. I thought you were going to say Talk to Me. That's also a good movie. If you get a chance to check that out. Dead air, guys. Dead air.
No,
What's the topic? We're talking about couples. So we spent the last two episodes talking about some of our favorite screen couples. We
2 episodes. We actually have an episode in between where we didn't talk about couples.
Well, that's because we couldn't find James.
Right.
And now we found James. So aren't we so lucky?
I mean, I'm sorry, things happen. I mean,
You're sorry things happened?
I'm sorry that I am sorry things happened. I'm just saying the next time you try to send an assassin after me, get one that will actually get the job done.
Well, that's because I sent myself and I'm an idiot. I make poor decisions. I told you this earlier.
Yeah, well.
Once again, dead air, James.
No, I'm not. I'm waiting for you to go. What are we doing?
All right, we're talking about the worst screen couples. We did the best ones, and we had a couple people who commented, and I'm not going to argue with them. Mickey and Mallory Knox, that's not a bad one. Some people on YouTube was like, you dumbasses, you forgot this. So we do read your comments, and actually, I appreciate you bringing that up. That is a fun one. It's not one of my favorites, but it is a fun one.
It's a fun one. And like I said, if we talked about every single couple, we would have another Stephen King series of episodes, and we don't want another one of those.
And truthfully, we probably could have done a third. And this is probably going to be our last couples because what happened was I don't know if this, I think it's true for all three of us, but I was looking through some of the best screen couples as I was researching. And as I got to a couple of them, I was like, no, this is a terrible couple. These are awful people. Right? Did anybody else have this experience?
Well, I don't. Yeah, you and James do. I don't look mine up.
Readings for losers. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I mean, but no. I was about to say there's some, like, for instance, one of the couples I said was, there was something to it was, of course, the narrator and Marla from Fight Club. And that pops up on all sorts of, they're the worst couple.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that does come up on a lot of worst couples. And I don't think that's a bad couple either.
See, I disagree with both of you on that one. I don't necessarily think that's a very healthy relationship.
Oh, I'm not talking about healthy.
At the end, it's not really determined that she's going to stay with him. She's actually absolutely confused and terrified as to what is happening.
And isn't in the book different that she doesn't want the book?
I think so.
The movie's a little bit more of them kind of being together, and the book's a little bit more. She doesn't want to be with him. I haven't read the book in a long time. I have read the book, but what do you? So one of the ones that, if you guys don't mind, because this is probably one of the most famous screen couples of all time, and it was on a lot of lists. And by the way, when you look up some of these other lists that I've looked up, some of the best screen couples are actually on some of the worst screen couples. And this is one of them, although I haven't seen it in any worse screen couples. And it's a movie I know that the other two don't care for, but I appreciate it just because it's one of the grandiose filmmaking or films of all time. And I do appreciate a lot of the performances. Rhett and Scarlett are terrible people. Well, actually, Rhett's just a rogue. He's what's the word I'm looking for? One of you. It's not. It's kind of a
scoundrel.
He's a scoundrel, but a
Scallywag.
Yeah, he's not really a carpetbagger, but he's very suave. He has money. He likes women. He hangs out with whores. He likes to drink. But at the same time, he's the most likable because to me, even today, if I watch it, I never find how people find all this empowerment from Scarlett O'Hara. She is an awful, terrible person who does nothing but rip apart people who are close and who love her. And why on earth what does Rhett see in her? I have no idea.
This is one I can't quote on because this is one of those classics in cinema history that I have never seen.
It's a good movie. It's completely inaccurate of actual history.
Birth of a Nation, tons of movies.
Yeah. But also I've watched Spike Lee talk about Birth of a Nation and appreciating it for what exactly it is and the filmmaking behind it.
Oh, you can appreciate the art form or the techniques.
And I completely appreciate it. And honestly, there's a lot of scenes in Gone with the Wind. If you put it on here, I will stop and watch it because it's hard not to. The movie's just damn good. It's just damn good. Several directors, not going to get into that. Pretty much it is a fever dream of a Margaret Mitchell novel made by David O. Selznick, who was one of the most powerful producers as far as having so much control of doing so much cocaine and speed for a couple of years to get that movie done, right? And it's all documented, but I do not understand why Rhett and Scarlett show up on these lists as great screen couples because I get him, I understand him, and I understand that she is a spoiled little bitch. So who still, no matter what happens, still wants what she wants and is just, I don't know, she's just one of the most unappealing characters. Played by the amazing, I almost forgot her name.
Maureen O'Hara, right?
No.
That's not her name?
I'm sorry, I got a cough.
Joe's having an episode. He's going down. He's going down.
James, who's the actress who played Scarlett O'Hara?
She was married to Sir Laurence Olivier.
Mrs. Laurence Olivier. You just said.
Oh my God, why can't
I actually know the answer, but
why couldn't I think
Joe's coughing and James is completely James is stroking out, and I'm the only one. And I've never seen the movie, and I don't give two rat's asses about it.
Oh, you should though, Chad. You should watch it.
I know I'm a cinephile. I should watch it.
Let's not talk about that. The kids you really need to leave alone, but you should watch that movie. Vivian Lee, by the way. Vivian Lee.
I knew it was Fay Ray.
Yeah, that was
honestly, you not remembering the name and then looking up and seeing what Chad put as his name made me all at once, and I had an episode.
Joe's nose tumor.
I had an episode.
Joe's nose tumor.
Yeah, for those people, I have a tendency to just write some random thing in my name in Zoom, and I wrote Joe's nose tumor because why not? And Joe's muted.
I muted so someone wouldn't hear me cough one more time.
I know, we appreciate that.
So that's my first one. Why don't you all eat my tumor and tell me your picks?
James, you want to go first?
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah,
I'm going to go.
Man.
I've got nothing but classics. I'm going to start actually with my only modern one. You want to know the definition of a horrible, horrible couple. And I don't care whether you read the books or you watch the show. These two people probably shouldn't be around other human beings, especially one of them. I'll let you decide which one. But it's hard to find a worse couple than Jaime and Cersei Lannister.
For a lot of reasons.
I would say, but even if you remove the incest issue, which is a big thing to remove. But even if you remove that, They
Yeah.
have children together, whatever. But there's not, it's all manipulation, right? It's all like he at times seems to really care about her, but she cares about the children more than, I mean, there's a lot of complications in that. It's a violent relationship. It's betrayal on every level of their own family, of their own family, I guess. It's controlling, it's manipulative, like I guess it shows up in the show, but it's definitely in the books too. Like she uses herself to get him to do whatever she wants him to do. And
Does she love him? In the show, you kind of believe she loves him, and he definitely loves her. But does she love him in the book?
Yeah, you get the sense that maybe, but at the same time, she also has to have that power, right?
Yeah, I don't feel like she can love anybody. All she wants is the power. So
Well,
that's-
she loves her children.
Well, I was about to say I think she loves her children.
But once she starts to lose them and realizes that she can't save them, I mean, she doesn't realize she can't save, but once she starts to realize, like that's actually the only time she really starts to realize she wants him back is so she can have another child.
Mhm.
Because and so she manipulates him into coming back. And
literally.
Oh.
See what I did there?
So I mean, I think obviously yes, the incest thing is a major problem with the relationship, but on top of everything
And
else,
just
like,
what do you mean by major?
if well, Joe, you probably shouldn't sleep with siblings. It's just it's
don't
my
have
rule.
any.
I know.
So I have to sleep with one of your siblings. That's how this works.
I don't think that's accurate. Now, anyway, don't you have a thing with Chad's mother? I mean, I don't want to get into the sibling issue.
Well, I wanted to make sure that we got it all covered.
But no, so I mean, honestly, that's just, if you read the books, if you watch the show, it is one of the most, because like I said, I think there's times when Jamie really does care, and he really does. He wants what's best for her and for both and their children. But at the same time, they're just, it's, if you want a definition of a toxic relationship, I mean, if you look at all the time that, quite frankly, they betray each other all the time. And I
Mhm.
mean, by the way, I mean, he betrays because it's sympathetic when he does it, when he when he tries to do the right thing. But at the same time, he is betraying her. He is
And by the way,
betraying, everything.
Joe, you want to know why twins shouldn't have offspring? And in your free time, look up the Habsburg chin.
Chin?
Chin, yeah,
Habsburg chin.
Habsburg chin.
Pap smear shin.
Yep. History, people, history.
History of the pep schmear schmin.
Yes.
I would like some schmear, please, on my bagel.
James, are you done, James? You ready for me?
Yeah, I mean, if y'all want me to go further on,
No,
but actually,
I think you described
will
the
say
sex
this,
between two siblings enough.
I will say this one more time. Actually, I think Cersei is worse, and I don't mean to say any woman in a relationship is worse, but if you also look at what she does to, her actual husband,
Mm-hmm.
she's a very dark character,
Right.
and she's very uncaring. And so, yes, I couldn't think of a worse couple in more recent pop culture than the Lannisters. Go,
Yeah.
Chad.
So my worst couple actually transcends multiple pop cultures. They're in movies, they're in TV, they're in, I think, even radio, as well as comic books. One couple that is absolutely horrible and they should not be together: Batman and Catwoman. Those are two.
I think it's always, is it because it's just it's rote, it's kind of written there. I mean, it's kind of, is that what you mean? They're always pushing it to happen?
They're always pushing it to happen, and then there's always something that the writers and everybody else puts into it that prevents them from being together. I mean, one of the biggest one, for example, in the early mid 2000s, they had this whole storyline going where they were a couple. Batman, it started in the Hush story arc. One of the best stories in comic book history is the Hush story arc, done by Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. and they've started romance, but then it literally happens. It's month after month of Batman, of Catwoman being there for Batman, and Batman being off on his own, but giving Catwoman duties, and just Catwoman getting obliterated by Batman's villains, comic book after comic book. Just this woman who's just there to love this guy, and all he's doing is getting her completely destroyed every month. And then there's also the whole thing of there's just tons of bad things that happen between these two people, and Batman, all he cares about is protecting the city, protecting the innocent. He doesn't really, he has his relationships, but they're not the priority. But then you have Catwoman, who is technically a villain, but she loves him and is willing to do anything for him, but he can't do it back. But yet it's just every time pop culture just puts them back together just to split them back apart. Well, go ahead.
And I think you're right. I think that's the entire thing about Batman, at least in most modern interpretations. He has to kind of be alone, right? I mean, and so it's like Superman or Clark Kent and Lois can work out because he's the big Boy Scout.
Right.
Batman is one step away from being, on the 6 o'clock news. It's a crazy guy.
Mm-hmm. Right. And every single time, and it's like he has this set group that keeps coming back to them because they're just dysfunctional. But Catwoman by far is the worst because she loves this guy and he loves her in a way, but they just can't connect, but they just can't separate either. It's just one of those key definitions of a toxic relationship that shouldn't be happening. But there you go. So that's my first pick.
Okay. Now this one's on a lot of lists, but I'm going back and forth about it because yes, they're terrible to each other, but one of them still loves the other one and they're just awful. And I'm kind of curious how you all feel about this, about being worst couples in film history. Oliver and Barbara in The War of the Roses. What do you all think?
I mean, yeah, they are terrible, but isn't that also who they are?
That's what so back to
I mean, not to borrow cliche, but every pot has its lid, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now. Did you say you brought a lid?
Well, the point being is, I'll continue Chad's thing.
Say is a big New York chicken lawyer.
I say, no, but Batman needs the Joker, right?
Yeah.
There are some people, and I've actually known some people like this, who need in a spouse or in a friend or somebody that will make them miserable. That's not the way I should say it, but that will challenge them, that will, quite frankly, not take their crap.
Yeah. So if you've never seen War of the Roses, go outside right now and do it. Why you need to do it outside?
It's about Tom Cruise fighting aliens.
That's right. War of the Roses.
Yeah.
Now, once you watch it, come back to me. And Kathleen Turner's character just doesn't love him anymore, wants rid of him. And that's awful, but he still loves her, but he's a very boring person. And he just wants to stay. Is it because he loves her? Is it because he doesn't want to lose her? Because he doesn't want to lose anything? And then eventually they get mad at each other and don't want to give up the house. And that's what everything goes to hell.
I just want to point out Michael Douglas is the king of being an asshole in relationships.
I don't know. I thought he was really good to everybody in Basic Instinct, but that's just the point. I mean, he was a passionate lover.
Fatal Attraction, Disclosure.
Yeah. Disclosure, Demi did him bad.
Yeah.
Demi did him bad. So back to what I was saying. The reason I wanted to bring this up as my second one is because, yes, they shouldn't be together. They're terrible, terrible for each other. But at the same time, that's also what makes the movie work so well.
What's the one where he's fighting? Is it Black Rain?
Yeah.
Is it Andy Garcia that gets his head chopped off by the Yakuza?
Rain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See what
but
he
I
did
don't know
Andy
that there's. Well, I guess the subtext Ridley Scott was going for is that he and Andy were sleeping together.
Which is that's a weird choice as a follow up to Purple Rain, but people make choices.
Well, yeah, What would you prefer? Maroon snow? What kind of precipitation are you
Oh,
looking for? What
Oh,
color?
you know what? I mean, could we make Maroon Snow?
Yeah.
I mean, the film. I mean, right now, I think there's a strike, but I think if we're an independent film, we can do it.
We
right?
could just go ahead and shoot the shit out of it. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
really need a script or a plot.
No, I mean, quite frankly, it's if this keeps going on, eventually they're just going to need something to put up on that screen. And gentlemen, why not us?
Why not me? James.
Lower your expectations and take a ride.
They already have. They're already listening. James.
Oh, I'm going to go classic again because I think this is an archetype that you can't beat. Terrible, 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 terrible relationship that has lasted through the centuries. Zeus and Hera. You can't. I mean, absolutely. Think about that relationship.
No. You're not talking about the Hercules version from Disney.
No. I was going to say, ignore that one. But if you go back to those stories and some of the adaptations, not the Disney one, but if you go back to those stories and read them, here's almost every Zeus encounter. Zeus sees a human, usually a woman, that he wants to
bangulate.
get to know. Bangulate would be another way to say it. And when he meets said woman, he proceeds to do what he wants to do, and normally they're for it. But then his old lady, Hera, finds out, who also happens to be his sister. Maybe it's a sibling and wife thing.
Well, it worked for the Lannisters.
But they then come back and does she get mad at Zeus and try to punish him? Oh no. That's her husband. She's not going to do that. But for Hercules, she'll drive him crazy and make him kill his own children. For Io, Io was the one that she turned into a cow and sent flies to mercilessly sting her for eternity to punish her for having sex with her husband. But did Zeus have to hear about it? Nope. Lamia made her kill her own children. Didn't punish Zeus, made her kill her own children and turned her into a monster that would eat other children. Echo, I could go on. Literally, tons of stories about Zeus going out and having relations with tons of humans. The humans are always punished by Hera. And it's almost this enabling thing, right? Because Zeus is like, oh, no, I really cared about that one. That's terrible. I feel bad. But then he goes and does it again, and she never punishes him or confronts him, really, if you read most of them. Never actually even says anything to him, just kills or injures or changes the human, and Zeus just goes about his merry way doing it again. They are toxic for one another because she more or less is enabling his behavior by not confronting him, and he doesn't really see a problem because she never actually says anything. It is probably one of the worst relationships in the history of fiction because they're just terrible for one another, but nobody confronts either one of them. Nobody tells Hera going, hey, you probably need to stop killing humans. Your husband's over there bangulating another one. And nobody, so it's a great example of just a terrible relationship that has now been adapted into pop culture outside of the Disney version tons and tons of times before. So there you go. I mean, I didn't know mine would have this weird incest scene because I forgot that Zeus and Hera were also technically siblings. But
well, I mean, I'm not shocked, Chad.
I'm not either. Yeah, but your sister, man.
All right.
I mean, the rest of us slept with her. Why not you? Once again, why not me?
Reasons. I'm happily married. Now my wife's not. She's miserable. Let's be honest. No. But I am.
She's definitely the Kathleen Turner in this scenario.
But anyway, yeah, no. So I mean, that's another terrible pop culture relationship, dating back prehistoric.
Chad,
not really prehistoric. They weren't dinosaurs.
So I gotta go with one that I think actually surpasses Zeus and Hera.
Oh, if you pull out Mars and whatever other candy bar,
Nope.
I couldn't think of any other Roman mythology.
And I am actually deviating from movies and Greek cult.
Greek cults. You've never deviated from a Greek cult.
I want to go to television, and I want to talk about maybe the worst couple in television history, Al and Peggy Bundy.
But once again, are they that's the same thing I have with the Roses. But that's kind of what makes them awesome.
Because they literally can't stand one another.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't have went for 40.
And they're miserable together.
Yeah.
Al will every time there was a very attractive woman, he would think nothing about, but how do I get with her?
Yes.
Even though he couldn't do it.
Well, he also had his connection to print journalism, sir.
What?
Was it Biggins? Was that the name of the magazine he always read?
Yeah, I think it was.
No, but that's the name of my manifesto.
By the way, I would love to actually see that needs to be a book cover. Biggins, the Joe Louis
manifesto.
I mean, there seriously is one of the best Christmas episodes in television history is their take on It's a Wonderful Life, where Al just wants to wish he never was born. And so his guardian angel, played by Sam Kinison of all people, shows him what life would have been like if he hadn't been born, and all of his family are happy. Let's not even forget about the fact that his kids, who have a different father, look exactly like the kids him and Peggy had. We're just going to forget about that. But they're all insanely happy. And it looks like he should not be there. Like he actually should not be. But instead he goes, no, I want to exist because I want to make them feel miserable because that's what they've done to me.
Yeah. You've talked about it on here before.
I know. And I have. And it's a textbook. These people should not be together. They are a horrible, horrible couple.
But at the same time, when anybody messes with the family, they get along fine to get back at them.
But that's because it's their dysfunction. They can hate each other, but the moment somebody hates them, they turn that on that person.
And that's the reason why boneheads don't dysfunction. I never say a word about anybody that hates you too.
No, you shouldn't. They're probably right.
There's no reason. Yeah. There's no reason.
I mean, I remember my dad's last words were, "Get that disappointment out of here."
There's three of you.
A little too dark.
You know, well, it's better.
And that's what. And then the thing is,
thing's loaded.
His dad was having a flashback to when James came out.
Put it back in. Some bitches got to bake.
Oh, I was a big kid. I was pretty bad. I was over
heavenly hams.
I do. Yeah.
No, but back to my point, and I'm very serious about this. I'm not making a joke, but that's what makes them awesome. So are they terrible couples?
Yeah, I think they're a terrible couple.
You see what I'm saying?
That makes that's what makes them awesome. That's what makes the show work. That fact that they are so terrible together, but they are still a terrible couple.
I agree with Chad, but though I do see what Chad is saying, because my threshold is if I had a friend, I'll just stop speaking there. But if I had a friend and they were in a relationship like that, would I consider that a bad relationship for them? And I do agree. I think that if I had, if I knew an Al Bundy and I knew that, he was going home and getting, told he was a failure and all of that stuff, I'd probably be like, yeah, you probably don't need to be in that relationship. That's probably not.
Your wife who doesn't work, who sits there and eats chocolate and watches TV all day, who does nothing, and then just comes home and treats him like absolute shit. Yeah, I mean, they're a terrible, terrible couple. They're textbook terrible.
Okay. Now this one, my next one is one of my favorite movies. It's the best movie about high school, actually. One of my favorites. It's fantastic, John, and it's on lots of lists, and I can't disagree with this one. I feel like they nailed it. I don't know why it didn't automatically come to my head, but it's Bender and Claire from The Breakfast Club. And I'll read it to you. From Lime Girl 99, let's give her credit. Don't get me wrong, I love the movie, but Bender bullied Claire, humiliated her, and even sexually assaulted her. And yet she still fell for him? How? I understand he was lashing out because of trouble at home, but it's entirely unrealistic that they would ever have become an item from everything he did, let alone in the space of one afternoon.
No, so first off, everything about the Breakfast Club is bullshit. None of that would actually ever happen. But at the same time, with that movie, in the way
they're
that's built
characters.
is
They're caricatures. They're
They're
caricatures that
caricatures,
are
yeah.
put together for one day.
yeah,
But the fact that he pushes that story together, I don't disagree with the commenters, and it is on a bunch of lists. And we can go on about how he does sexually assault her for the most part
yes,
during the day, and then she ends up with him.
yeah. And I was just the big thing about that one and is the fact that as the day progresses, each one of them has their set identity in school. You know, he's the criminal.
Yeah, they're caricatures.
Yeah,
they're
the
stereotypes.
characters. But as the day progresses and they break down and they become comfortable with one another, they start to see that they're not one dimensional.
I agree.
To them.
I agree.
And even though he is horrible and does all those horrible things, there is a softer side to him, and she sees that.
Yeah, I think
And
it's a stretch.
yeah, I just don't think they're the most terrible couple. And I don't get me wrong, they're not going to last. Maybe a month, maybe a two, and then they'll be back to where things were, because that's how high school worked.
It may. I don't agree with you. If you'd have came at me with, because I was thinking about this, if you came at me with looking at it from a viewpoint of 2023 and not looking at it through the lens of 1985 when the movie came out, then I could probably say, yeah, it's probably slightly more believable in 85, because a lot of those things wouldn't be literally be considered assault.
Right.
But it's still, there's a lot of things in that movie, I believe, even though because it's the genius of John Hughes of the 5 caricatures of stereotypes of the 5, and he even lays it out for you of what the 5 are. But the fact that he puts them, it never made sense that you have to put them together anyway. If they just understood each other and became friendly, it would have worked just as well.
Right.
There does not need to be a romantic relationship or insinuating there are, because there's even a kiss. Why doesn't Anthony Michael Hall and what's her face kiss?
Yeah. Why does Emilio Estevez end up with Ali Sheedy? I mean,
yeah, why not? Why?
There
why
was never
those two?
And see, that's the thing with oh my God. What's their names again? Judd
Claire and I never remember their names either. Bender and Claire, yeah.
Bender and Claire. You can see why they get together, because they have interactions throughout the whole movie. They talk. Ali Sheedy and Emilio Estevez's characters hardly have 2 words to one another, except for she gets a big makeover that's one of the bullshit things again that gets tons, that trope where she's this nobody, nerdy looking weirdo who suddenly gets a makeover and she's gorgeous. And then that's what makes him interested in her, is she has to completely change her character in order for him to have any feelings for her.
Well, so I mean, that's kind of how it works. I mean, that's when you started wearing that wig, is when I started, chasing after you. Nothing.
No, I just really, really wanted to look like Anna Nicole Smith.
But you're missing 2 things.
Personality and money.
Yeah.
Personality and a sense of humor.
And the accent.
And
according to Naked Gun 33 and the Thirds, a huge umbrella wang.
Well, Gonzo knows.
Yeah, Gonzo knows. Thank you.
Gonzo knows what you're thinking.
Yes.
But it's on a lot of lists. And more and more I thought about it, the more and more it's like, yeah, that's a little prescribed. James.
Yeah. I had a different one, but this one keeps circling back to my mind. And yeah, I'm going to do it. Let's go ahead and destroy worlds. Forrest and Jenny and Forrest Gump.
I agree.
Yep.
Absolutely. And it never hit me as hard as it did when somebody said, switch the genders.
Yep.
And how would you feel about it? And as somebody pointed out, this is a comment, switch the genders in the dorm scene, and we don't see viewers cheering when a college guy masturbates using an unwilling, intellectually disabled young woman's hand.
Yep, I completely 110% agree with you. And on top of that, she does nothing until she eventually gets sick and needs him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he is there as a tool. He is a prop. For
He is a
her.
prop and a tool, and thank God he gets his kid.
Yeah. But it wasn't originally on my list, but I was sitting here thinking, going, yeah, it's one of those things. And actually, that's
No, that's the
you hear-
best one.
you hear
I'm
about
sorry, not to take anything. I'm throwing mine in the loot. I think that's the best one of a good example of a really shitty couple.
you hear about the Bechdel test based on Alison Bechdel, who wrote Funhouse and all that, about, can a film be considered feminist? But that's just a simple test you can always use. If you switch genders and you feel differently about it, it probably isn't a good relationship portrayed in film. And Joe, I was going to say save this one as an honorable mention, but somebody actually made an argument, and I disagree a little bit with this one, but somebody actually made the same argument about WALL-E. Because when she shuts down, WALL-E does whatever he wants with her. He takes her place. Now, some people argue, well, he's protecting her, but other people are like, well, is he though? Like, he has her doing what he would do with her on a date.
I think
And
they're
she shut down.
inferring a lot, but yes,
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I mean, because I watched it and I was like, I heard that argument and I was like, oh man. So maybe that's my new test now. If we switch the genders, would it be okay?
No, I'm not trying to take away from any of us, but damn, that one's a good one.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I finally, it only took me 300 episodes.
292 or 93. This is what. No, I think
Finally,
you're
I got
right. I think and it's not on a lot of lists that I saw.
No, but it is a very negative relationship. I mean, he's a prop. He is, and the real tragedy is he truly cares about it.
He loves her.
Yeah, he
Yep.
wants to keep her safe, and he can't.
Mhm.
And she doesn't see him as anything but an option, a prop, whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Even at the end.
Go ahead. Joe.
Okay, so my last one, yeah, it's not. I don't think there's no way this one's going to beat Forrest and Jenna. John McClane and Holly Gennaro McClane,
That's a good one too, Chad.
I think, are an absolutely terrible couple.
I have no
don't-
idea why they're together.
There's no reason for them
There's
to be.
no
and I don't-
reason for them to be together.
I
In
don't know
fact,
if
the movie series had no reason for them to be together because as much as I like Bonnie Bedelia in other films, she's not in the after part 2.
Part 2, yeah. And part 2 is the only one where they're. By the way, I don't know. Did this when you did your research, did it appear on any list?
None that I saw.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, other than part 2, they're actually not together at all. Part 1, they're separated because he's too hooked on his job. Part 2, they're together and everything's hunky dory. Part 3, he's in New York, she's somewhere else, and they're separated. And then that's it. He's alone for the remaining 2 films. I mean, he is just too obsessed with being a cop, and she wants some normality, and they can't. Normalcy. Well, why I said normality. Normalcy.
It's fine. We're not judging you.
So yeah, but yeah, they are not meant to be together, obviously. And it's just you see that through all 5 films, because it's just, he really only cares about his job.
Mhm.
I mean, even in part 4, when they kidnap his daughter, yeah, he wants the daughter back, but at the same time, all he wants to do is kill Timothy Oliphant. But
Which he best stand in line. I guess. Sorry. Love you, Timothy Oliphant. Please don't
Timothy
kill me.
Oliphant's a great actor, but you talk about miscasting.
oof, man. I forget. I was watching something. What was it? Oh, Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction with Keanu Reeves, and he pays a flower delivery person to get him in. And guess who the flower? No, sorry, wrong movie. That was Michael Shannon. Let's just forget this talk. Anyway.
Okay.
So, Holly Gennaro and John McClane. Yeah, it's just one of those examples of 2 people loved each other at one point, but as they've grown older, they cannot be together. And Die Hard pretty much shows that. But through
Kind of like my relationship with Twinkies.
yeah.
We were there for each other in the beginning, but I can't be with Twinkies anymore.
That's a
And the
big
only thing that
thinking.
brings them together in Die Hard 1 is tragedy and a very stressful environment that brings them back together. But once things die down, no, they just cannot be together. So yeah, that is an example of a terrible. That is my number one example of a terrible couple, the McLeans.
Got it. All right. What are your honorable mentions? There's a couple that show up if you guys want me to go first that I
Yeah.
think people will get mad at us if we don't talk about just simply because of, and one of them's TV.
I got one, and I'm afraid you too, and everybody else will get angry at me.
Well, Ted and Robin from How I Met Your Mother. I've never really watched the show, but I want to say I've watched episodes, but I know they end up together, and I know that was the big thing. I know James, your wife, was a big fan of
Mhm.
of How I
That
Met
was
Your
my
Mother,
wife.
and that was one of those that's the worst. That makes no sense. This should have never happened, kind of thing.
Well, and really, actually, the way the show ends, or the last season of the show, really, she ends up initially with Neil Patrick Harris' character Barney, and they're a bad couple. And I mean, that's actually what the show shows. They're not a good couple, which is why they don't work out. And then she ends up with him. But yeah, I mean, there's not the most believable couple in that show is Muppet Guy and Willow.
Allison Hannigan and Jason Segel.
No, they're the most
Muppet
believable.
Guy
And Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, sure.
No, Bandcamp would have worked too. I know.
Yeah.
But no, because honestly, they have the best arc, because there's these lines when they finally have a child, and it's like, can you believe we're going to be parents? But also the other part about it is that one of the best episodes of the show is when his father dies. Jason Segel's character's father dies, and she has to comfort him, basically, and it's done really well, and eventually sex is involved. But it's also
that's the only way you can be comforted. So I've been telling people.
I think that's I don't know if that's true, Joe, but
well, you heard me say, so I've been telling people.
But anyway, no. So no, you're absolutely right. I think that's it was. So people are still mad about that, and justifiably.
And the other one, there's a couple, but the other one is Bella and Edward from Twilight. He is
Never
a creeper.
Don't know anything about it.
Honestly,
is a creep. Once again, that's another one. Switch the genders. Actually, I don't know that you need to switch the genders on that.
No, honestly,
no.
When it came out, everybody kept saying it was a romantic. I was like, okay, let's not make him 400. Let's make him 40. He's a 40-year-old hanging out at a high school.
Yep.
And he decides he's going to pick up this girl.
Yep.
You would have the CNN, the news helicopters flying. You would have surrounded police everywhere. But no, and so that's it. No, I agree. I think that's and by the way, I just don't trust anybody that would be immortal and be like, you know how I'm going to spend the rest of my life? Hanging out at a high school.
Oh, so
I don't trust that. That's weird. That guy needs help.
I agree. Who's next? James?
I'm going with another classic one. I think one of the worst relationships in history, and anybody that can make an argument that it needs to be read romantically, I have concerns about. It's Romeo and Juliet. She's 14 years old. They know each other for 6 days and kill themselves. Honestly, again, if it happened in reality, it would be, oh my God, there'd be a dateline. There would be, and it would be who manipulated who more and all of that stuff. And quite frankly, if you read it, Romeo, I mean, he's interested in Juliet and she's interested in him, but they're also interested in other things too. And it's just one of those things of, that's not romantic. That is, you knew somebody 6 days and decided, well, I'm going to kill myself. I mean, to me, it's best read as a farce. It's tragic, but it's a tragic farce. It's nobody should be like, oh, I've known somebody 6 days. It's either them or nothing.
It's not as fun. It's not as funny as Titus Andronicus. Sorry.
Oh no, Titus Andronicus is actually my favorite Shakespeare. There's
Same here.
Not a doubt. It's perfect. It's true torture.
Yep.
But yeah, they've known each other 6 days. She's 14. We never get an exact age, but he's young. And it's just one of those things that's not romantic. I mean, no more than Twilight is to me. It's just weird. And so that's a bad couple. Yeah. Because honestly, I mean, quite frankly, in any other relationship, if somebody told me if I can't have you, I'm going to kill myself, and if I care about that person, I'm going to be like, no, you're not. No, you keep living. That's what a relationship should be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a Jim Jones type situation.
All right, Chad.
So this is the one that might get people irritated, but I don't think they
Here,
are.
let me practice now. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Go ahead.
Kermit and Miss Piggy.
No, that's
I
actually that
don't
was
know
on
that
a
I
few lists.
disagree.
That was on a few lists.
Oh,
and
is it?
it's yep. I saw it on a few lists. Now I've read very long lists though, so I don't know if Joe saw it.
No,
But
didn't see
I
that
saw it on
one.
a few lists because probably for exactly the reason you're going to say is it's not mutual. It's not
No, yeah.
sustainable.
Miss Piggy is absolutely insane for Kermit, and Kermit doesn't want anything to.
But she's insane for Kermit, but completely self-centered at the same time.
Yeah,
And that's hard to pull off, but she does it so well.
right. Yeah, and she wants what she wants, and if Kermit can't deliver, he gets knocked across the room. I mean, there's nothing safe. There's
Oh my God. Is Kermit a prop a la Jenny and Forrest?
So you're
Have
saying
we
Miss Piggy has HIV
I mean, probably not.
I
Now,
wouldn't eat that bacon.
from some dirty hippie?
Scooter.
Oh no, not Scooter.
No, that's how it happens, Chad.
Can't we do like what's the name? Lulu? Oh, the guy who throws fish.
no, not New Zealand.
Lou.
Not New Zealand.
No,
He's
it's
a
Scooter.
solitary man. He just throws fish.
Isn't he?
it would
French?
definitely wouldn't be Pepe.
No,
Oh no,
not Pepe. No,
Pepe
never.
will betray his own kind though, because he did work for Long John Silver selling prawns and fish for a
Okay.
while. I mean, he did.
Okay.
He did.
Yeah.
Now,
All
now
right.
you could have an entire backstory. Maybe he had to do it, and that's how he got saved from being made into, but I don't know. But no, you're right. That's a good one.
Yeah, Kermit and Miss Piggy.
All right. Anything else?
No.
This has been Bonehead Weekly. Tune in next week.
Get out of my house.
Ah.